Welcome to Mudville, podcast about baseball and cinema. I'm Brody Staub.
I'm Nolan Rabine.
We hope you enjoy.
All right. Anyways, we're back. It's Mudville.
What up, Mudballs?
It's June 13th. Yeah, I guess
I'm
that's
rolling
a
with
thing
it.
now. Yeah, I guess that's fine.
Yeah, get it? Mudballs rolling.
What's up, Mudballs?
That's terrible.
The Yankees are playing the Mets right now at Citi Field.
Yes, sir.
But it was a tough past week. They had a homestand against two different colors of socks. Neither series went well.
No.
On to discuss today, we brought Red Sox aficionado and probably the only Bostonian who's currently in our good graces.
I think that's fair.
Our good friend, Mr. Toney Brown. Tony, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And Red Sox Nation, I will, if you're listening closely, I'll blink twice if I need help.
It's going to be a very audible blink.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is odd for me. I don't converse regularly with Red Sox fans very often. So
this is going to go one of two ways.
I don't want to say underachieving because this is kind of two teams that should be doing better. How are you feeling about the Red Sox season this year?
I mean, I'm totally in mid mode. I think they're just a complete mid team. I think I heard somewhere that in their last 500 games, they're 250 and 250. That was going into the Yankees series, which they won, but then immediately lost to the Rockies. So it's still 500. Yeah, last night lost to the Rockies. So, but
I feel worse about our series now.
It was the Connor Seabold revenge game.
Not great.
It wasn't good.
No.
Yeah.
My brother had a prediction before the season started that all of the projected rotation that the Sox had was going to not be either on the team or in the rotation by the season's end, which was, what was it? Whitlock, Kluber, Sale, and two more Bayo, I think, and one more who I now can't think of.
I don't think it was Bayo.
Pivetta, who's now in the bullpen.
Who is now moved to the bullpens.
Same with Kluber.
That's a good prediction.
He's 2/5 of the way there, I guess, now. So
he's 40% of the way there.
He's getting there.
You know who I owe an apology to is James Paxton. I said on the podcast at one point that he would be out of the league by August.
You did.
And he's been the best pitcher in baseball for all of June.
That's amazing.
So, I don't know how. I don't know how he's doing it.
Look, anybody can be good for a month. I mean,
yeah, I suppose, but it's being backed up by the data, as they say.
All right, nerd.
It depends on what you mean by out of the league. If you consider a 60-day IL by August, because you don't know,
Fair
you could
enough.
just break.
This whole season has just been like strange. Can we all agree with that? Are we like all on the same page with that?
It's definitely been an odd season.
It's weird. Everything feels weird.
We've said a few times a bunch of teams that we thought would be in first or second or in fourth, and in some cases vice versa.
Yeah.
Nobody expected St. Louis to be this bad. Nobody expected them to be in last, of course.
The Pirates are still in first place, and it is currently June 13th.
Yeah, I'm going to go so far as to say nobody expected the Arizona Diamondbacks to be leading the NL West by 4 games.
I did think they were going to be good. I did not think that they were going to have a shot at all at winning that division. I'm pretty sure is my prediction from before the season started, which I still, I'm glad I said that because nobody with a normal brain would have thought that they could win that division.
No.
Nobody expected the Padres to be in 4th place.
I think I felt about the same way as you did about Arizona, and a lot of people felt the same way about the Baltimore Orioles. Gunnar Henderson's heating up for them.
He's just back his first Grand Slam.
Yeah, he's back in the leadoff spot. He's hit their 3 games in a row. He's homered in multiple of those games. He just hit a Grand Slam tonight.
Speaking of surprising heaters, the Oakland Athletics have won 6 straight games.
Yeah, wait, let's
go.
They just beat the Rays last night. For,
Major League.
Just recently swept the Brewers.
It was the Brewers. Okay, yeah.
And then they took the first game from Tampa Bay last night.
Yes, they did.
Which made me... I think we can all agree.
I think we're all
That's
happy
wonderful.
with that. Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's so nice.
God, this is so bad.
It doesn't happen
Yankee
enough.
fans and Red Sox fans just like
finding common
ground over their hatred for the Rays.
Okay,
What's
like, to
going
be
on?
fair,
Small market team.
How much do you hate the Blue Jays?
I feel nothing towards them.
Oh, see, that's interesting because I hate the Blue Jays.
Really?
I think you do too, Nolan. Is that fair to say?
I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I think we've had. It's funny because the Red Sox
I respect
have not.
them.
That you guys have not pissed me off in so long at this point, like from a doing damage to each other standpoint. Like we have not seen each other in a playoff series since
The rivalry hasn't been as strong.
2021, the wild card game.
But like that
I barely
season,
even
I had
count.
no hope.
Me neither.
So like that doesn't count for me. That didn't do anything for me.
How
did a
you
lot
feel
for
right
me.
now
I'm sure.
about the 2023 Red Sox just
Yeah.
being in mid mode is how I was all year for the 2021 Yankees.
Pretty
Okay,
so
cool.
Yeah.
that game just didn't surprise me at all.
And Stitt almost won it by himself. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
that was
he got-
crazy.
2018 was
unlucky.
great.
2018, you guys were a force.
Yeah.
So that was.
But the games,
Yeah.
there was a lot of spice to them.
Yeah.
Red Sox Yankees,
But also,
right?
you guys completely
didn't
cleared
really-
the roster out since then. So like,
Yeah.
it's if you guys kept everybody, maybe we would be able to have a bit more juice. But it's just everybody is gone. It's a completely new team, and even then, the Yankees don't have a lot of guys who have had experience. Either losing to or beating the Sox in the playoffs. So it's all just very. It could be on the way. Basically, but right now I feel like we're at a reset for the rivalry.
For sure, especially with the injuries last week. I think a lot of people were feeling bummed because you had these two nationally televised games,
Right.
And it's just like, where
These
are
teams
the
don't deserve
stars?
it.
You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Yankees had the IL things and a thin depth, and the Red Sox are just straight up mid
Yeah.
and sold.
Trying to
all
be the
these
Rays.
fan favorites. So it's
Yeah.
like, from a marketing perspective, I'm not sure what's going on with the Sox ownership.
That Sunday night game was the most unwatchable thing
God,
I've seen in
awful.
quite some time.
Yeah,
Like,
I thought the whole series was unwatchable.
it was pretty
rough.
terrible. But that was the first time in a while that I was like actively mad that I spent my time watching a baseball game.
We shut off the TV the second the game ended and both went to bed like without saying a word. Really, once it ended, we were just like, okay,
Yeah, we were just like, well, see you tomorrow.
yeah,
Oh, brutal.
It was-
frustrating end.
Yeah.
Volpe's doing the McNeil thing now. Did you see that? He has like how McNeil has that weird end of the bat where it's like kind of like a club. It doesn't have like the knob. It's like smooth.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it's underneath his bottom hand. It's funny.
Well,
McNeil's been doing that for years. He chokes up and he has that weird bat. But yeah,
Anthony Volpe could stand to learn a couple things from Jeff
Jeff
McNeil
McNeil,
right
yeah.
now. He's hitting 189. He has the lowest on-base percentage in all of baseball at 260.
among qualified hitters. But
Yes, among qualified hitters. His WRC plus is at a 68 going into tonight, though he did hit an RBI double, so maybe that'll go up a point or two.
Yeah, just a bit.
But it hasn't been great. Brody, we talked back in April, like after those first couple weeks when a few people started to get a little bit upset about Volpe's performance, and then what was primarily happening was there was a reaction to an argument that wasn't really being made. and
Right.
A lot
people
of people
were arguing
were
nothing with no one.
Yeah, so many people were like, "What do you mean people want to send Anthony Volpe down?" And
Yeah.
nobody really wanted to send Anthony Volpe down
People
at the
do
time.
now.
But now it might be time to send Anthony Volpe down. I say as the Mets botch a play.
They just Luis Castillo'd.
Oh boy,
Wow.
that's hustle.
To be
Okay.
fair, here's the thing with Volpe that's been very frustrating over the last couple days that I've noticed is that while there's been a lot more chatter about sending him down in the last week, I feel like I've seen so many balls that he's hit that are like 105, 110 off the bat or something. And then tonight, so far in this Mets game, he's had a couple either squeak by or actual nice base hits, and he had a big RBI double earlier in the game. It's like I feel like part of it is bad luck, which is why I think the Yankees are so like standing pat that we're not going to move him. But it still just I hate to say this so much, but it feels like he's about to turn the corner, and that's like it is what it is. And I'm willing to give him more time, but right now I think a similar thing that's going on with the Yankees and the Sox that we can all agree on is having a weird mishmash of young and old talent, weird contracts. Although the Sox have cleared out a lot of money over the last couple of years. But you guys have a couple top prospects that you're kind of holding out on, like Marcelo Meyer. It's like in Double-A right now. He's probably about a year or two away. We've had Dominguez forever, and it feels like Mayer's. Is it Mayer's? Mayer, right?
Mayer.
It's not
Yeah.
Meyer. Mayer has been kind of like your guys' Dominguez for a while, but you also have, who is it, Duran, Casas, like all these young guys too, who just kind of, showing up and have expectations that are not,
Right.
really being
Duran's
met.
year last year was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
He kind of had the infamous inside the park grand slam against
Right.
the Blue Jays where
Yeah.
he didn't hustle for the ball. So he wasn't in the fans' good graces, but, to his credit, he, worked out, kind of did his own thing this offseason and was just trying to have fun this year.
Right.
And so he got off to a hot start when he got called up in May, but is definitely come back down to earth. I think I texted you, Nolan, because we both had him, I think, for a bit in separate leagues in fantasy.
Oh, sure.
And I was
Yeah.
just like, I'm enjoying this like 450
little hot
BABIP
start,
right
yeah.
now.
Oh,
Like,
no.
yeah, it's like, that's definitely going to come down. But
Yeah.
so that's cool. And I think Casas is in the same position right now as Volpe is, off to a little bit of a slow start. Then because fans, you want these players to be good,
Right.
And
You've been hearing the name for so long.
Right.
Like by the time they finally, get to be seen, it's like you just can't help but just like, please just be good. Like,
right,
You want
exactly.
to root for them
Yeah.
too, and like
Yeah,
something else that I feel like I've kind of felt is like as I've heard and learned more about a guy who like hasn't even debuted, and I feel like this is just like a kind of human thing, is that you develop like a sense of connection to that player,
Right.
like
You're
whether you
watching
want to
him
call
develop,
that like
right.
a parasocial relationship or whatever.
I'll call it a parasocial relationship. That's a parasocial relationship, Nolan. That's
sure.
what that is.
Okay. So then, like, if that player gets called up and then starts to struggle, like, you'll see a lot of fans who don't really know who they are and, like,
Right.
weren't following them through all of their success and through all their hype, and then they just see them once they get
Right.
there and they start to struggle, and then they're like,
You're like,
this guy's
hey,
a bum.
nah.
And then you want to defend that
Yes.
guy because
Yeah,
that's been your guy for a while.
Right.
And I feel like, we've certainly felt that way about Anthony Volpe. Tony, I bet you felt that way for a while about Casas. I do
Yeah.
think that they're in very comparable situations.
I still do. I had a friend text me last night saying that he was #done with Casas, and I said, listen,
Wow, man.
like, give it time. I was
He's
equating
23
him.
years old.
He's 23. I was equating him a little bit to Schwarber, like not expecting a high average, just over 800 OPS, 30
Right.
to 40 home runs. Like, it's gonna take time.
Yeah.
And so I
Preaching
said
patience.
# the Casas promise that he is going to come through for us
Right.
in his time here. It's just going to take some time, and it's hard in Boston, especially when you saw the successful development of a lot of homegrown players, including, some might say, one of the best developed players since Babe Ruth or Ted Williams,
Right.
or something like that, and then they just traded him away. So
what, you're
it's
saying you don't
even,
love Alex Verdugo? What are you talking about?
yeah, I love Verdugo, but it adds
We're talking
more.
about Mookie Betts, by the way, for those who were not aware. But yeah.
Not much of a Jeter Downs guy.
Not much of a Jeter's down guy. No. But yeah, and that adds even more pressure onto the system. But,
Right.
I do like where it's going. The Red Sox are still mid. I don't really know how I feel about Bloom. There's some moves that I like. There's some that I don't. I'm hearing things about stuff in the locker room, if it's together or not. I don't know.
Are they playing Fortnite again?
Yeah, probably, but I don't know. It's
Eating
just all
cheeseburgers or
very,
whatever.
it's all very mid right
Right.
now is how I'm
Right.
feeling. But Fangraphs came out with their system report yesterday for the Sox,
Right.
and it was really optimistic. Saying a top 10 farm system, but of course the problem is no one is anywhere close to being ready to contribute
Sure. Right.
at a high level
Sure.
at the big league level. So that's just the frustration for all of Sox fans, especially ones who want to win and compete for a World Series every
Right.
single year. And the Henry ownership is extremely confusing. They have won 4 World Series
God.
versus 0 in 86 years before that. So
I want to win. I want to win.
All right. All right.
so it's just so there's the frustrations there. The Henry
Keep it in your
family.
pants.
I want to win, man.
Wait, can I ask you guys
Yeah.
a question real
Yeah.
quick?
Yes.
Like, what year were you born in, both of you?
98.
98, yeah.
So
We
all
were
you have is
11.
2009.
Pretty
That's
much.
it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That one World Series. That's amazing.
Yeah. which
These are
is
the kind of
very
Yankee
unfortunate.
fans I like.
Then
You know?
see, we have nothing on you. Like, you guys have, it's so frustrating because the last time that we beat you guys in the playoffs, we were 5. Like that mattered. Like that really, like anything like came of it.
That's messed up, man.
And of course, Aaron Boone being like, that's like one of my earliest memories, let alone sports memories, is Boone's homer. Like I remember watching it with my family. Still, it's just all very like hazy, unlike the early crazy good 2000s Yankees. So we feel like we've kind of missed out on the mystique that is the Yankees for a lot of our lives, and we got Jeter for a very long time, and we're lucky to have seen so much of him. But it's still just like they are not anything close to that just like pound you into the dirt 90s Yankees that we grew up hearing about so much. So it's frustrating, and like when they are so close year after year and they spend so much money and they are so agonizingly close to getting to at least just getting to the World Series in the last close to a decade at this point, really since 2015 is when this kind of era started, I would say.
Right.
It's just, it gets very, very frustrating, and there has been no changes in leadership or anything. So that's kind of why Yankee fans are so pissed all the time.
I have so many things to respond to that. I'm going to see if I can get all of them.
Okay.
I think we are a very specific era of Yankee fan at this point.
Right.
And personally, I did not come from a baseball family. I developed my own interest in the game around the time I was like 5 or 6.
Right.
So I am actually lucky enough to remember that the 04 ALCS happened, but not to have had any real emotional connection to it. Like I'm not even sure that I watched the games.
It was traumatic for my brother. He's 3 years older than
I'm
us.
sure.
I don't remember it that well.
Yeah.
So like that's
at least we were spared that. I remember the first full season that I remember experiencing. I think they had a season of Tony Womack at second base.
I remember.
And then
Tony
they got
Womack.
Robinson Cano the year after, and then they had him, for years and years.
That's like 04, 05, I think. But
But also, I was gonna say, so I of course have no memory of the Aaron Boone home run. I don't think I even knew what the Yankees were when that happened.
Sure.
And what was my other point? I was going to say, I feel like this is right now what we're experiencing is a Boston Red Sox team that is just totally unlike anything we've seen for at least the last decade plus, because something that I always envied kind of about their 2010s, which is why that decade is going to be remembered so fondly in the memory of Red Sox fans, is that
multiple World Series for one.
Yeah, no, exactly. But in the years that they didn't win those championships, they were actively bad for a lot of them.
Yeah, they would go back and forth between being in first and last in the division.
Exactly. That's the reason that they have Marcelo Mayer right now is because the year after, I think it was the year after they won.
2 years after.
2 years
after. The COVID season,
sorry,
which thank God
right.
that was only 60 games.
Right. Yeah.
I'm so glad that wasn't 162.
That was actually kind of genius because they were just we're going to suck in the shortened season, get a top 5 pick, and now they got their...
I can't believe we didn't do that.
Exactly. No, that's exactly what I'm saying. The Yankees in the 2010s could never commit to anything like that.
Yeah,
they would
they
always...
Still don't. They never do.
No, they
never will.
still couldn't do that. And I thankfully don't think that they will have to for quite a while.
Now,
I do think they have a good future of the team.
Right. Everyone wants to be the Dodgers and just find a way to win and churn out top prospects. But
but what I was thinking about the Red Sox is that right now I feel like they're kind of in that state of mid that you just never saw in the 2010s. It was always one extreme
they were either bad
or the other,
or good.
where they're either tanking. Well, not tanking. I guess that's a little harsh. But they're either
losing. They were either
losing games to net capital, or they were dominating.
Right. They're currently 33 and 34, which I feel like I don't remember the last time they were just a 500 team.
Which that would
500 in the last 500 games.
Yeah,
right. Exactly. Right.
Which that would probably get them the 12th pick, maybe the 13th.
Yeah.
So I mean, this year's draft is incredibly loaded. There are 5 number 1 picks.
Right.
But you're probably not going to see that too often. This is kind of a special class because a bunch of the COVID kids deferred and went to college, and now you see ultra beasts like Dylan Cruz.
I was so excited to say college baseball's nuts right now.
I'm so excited to watch that. Tony, are you going to watch any of that college?
McNeil is up right now. If you want to take a look at McNeil's bat, you'll see what I mean. He has that. He chokes up and he has that weird clubby type thing. Thoughts on all that?
College World Series?
Yeah. Or anything about college baseball at all?
Oh, I don't watch a lot of it, to be honest.
I never have really either. I've
I hear it's electric.
I'm going to start watching it this year because like I've followed the prospects like for a couple of years. Like there were definitely like a bunch of the guys who were drafted this past year. Like I would follow them, but I really want to like immerse myself
this
further
year,
in that this year. Like I'm already starting to read more like lists of draft prospects and like mock drafts, and I want to get myself more excited for that because like
this LSU team is crazy. That's the only thing I know between Dylan Cruz and Paul Skeens.
Those two
insane,
guys are nuts.
Yeah. Did you see the pitcher who had a complete game with 160 pitches or something like that the other day?
Yeah, there's been a lot of discussion about the responsibility of that and whether that was morally dubious.
Yeah.
I think they do. Like I think
that's just not right. These kids are so young.
Yeah, I think you can't let a kid do that because like it certainly wasn't a case of like he wanted to come out of the game and the coach was like, no, you're gonna go. Like this is a kid who like he like made himself stay in like even when they were up 5 in like the bottom of the last inning.
As a coach, to know that you know better. Yeah, like, these are kids. Like if it's like in their 20s, early 20s, they think they're invincible.
Mm-hmm. If it's like a 3-2 game and like this probably isn't a kid who's going to go pro and like he really wants to stay in the game, like maybe I could understand it like in a very, very specific scenario. But
not to 150.
Just especially given that situation where like that they had to have had a pitcher who could come in and get 3 outs with a 5-run lead.
They must.
Like at that point, you have to tell somebody who wants to stay in the game with like what do you think he had 138 pitches at that point? We're taking
you out.
Something that you got to say.
You did a great job tonight. We are sitting you down.
You probably
thank you.
You shouldn't even have pitched him in the 8th inning. Like I wouldn't have. We can certainly sit here and say we would never do that. Like we're not coaches. I feel like that at a certain point there's a moral responsibility there.
It's not right to do to
and
a
I
kid
think it was
like
probably after like the 7th inning.
Yeah.
Old Hoss Radborn would beg to differ.
Old Hoss would have been like 150.
That's so true.
Kid Nichols. Do you guys know Kid Nichols? One of the great starters. At his Hall of Fame acceptance speech, he's like, I'm proud that not once in my career I was replaced by a relief pitcher.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was in his Hall of Fame speech.
Oh my Lord.
I think
people are insane.
Yeah.
This is so actually okay. So my girlfriend's family is very close with a pitcher who is in the Hall of Fame. And he pitched in the 70s, and he has 267 complete games in his career.
Unreal.
267 complete games. That's a lot. 49 shutouts. That's a ton. He cannot lift his shoulder. He can't lift his arm above halfway anymore.
Brody, you're being so specific with these stats.
I know. You could go find it. His name
rhymes with Schmergy Schmenkins.
All right, fine. So anyway, yes, Fergie Jenkins, he was a Cub in the 70s and 80s. Yeah, he literally can't lift his arm over his shoulder, and so we went to he got a statue last year in Chicago. Outside the Wrigley, and he was throwing at the first pitch, quote unquote, and he had his like 1-year-old daughter come out and like place it in a glove because he didn't want to go out and show all the Cubs fans that he cannot any longer throw a baseball. So it's like it's brutal. I mean, like they just destroyed their arm. Like nobody knew what it would do to them later on, and they just even the Dave Stieb video, his arm fell off. It's like
I mean there's been so much medical advancement and just like furtherment of knowledge about what abuse is to a pitcher's arm and like how not to tank somebody's career. Trends that will lead a guy more often than not to not just Tommy John surgery but like repeat injuries that will derail his career. So like, you saw quite a few cases like that in like the 90s and 2000s and stuff. So
it makes me worried about Skeens, and like he reminds me a bit of Steven Strasburg, as awful as that is to say.
People were mad when they threw Skeens for 124 pitches the other night, but he was also on a full week of rest. So I guess
that is a lot, but that's also
I don't know enough about.
He'd probably hit that once or twice in the majors, like in a year. Like that's
I could see
if not more. Like that's It's good to know that he can do that.
Maybe,
but
I don't know. I mean, I feel like the only guy that I remember seeing consistently putting up that many pitches is 2021 Shane Bieber.
Right.
And he's even in those years since then, his like strikeout rate has gone from like 35% to like 17%.
Look at Jacob deGrom. He used to pitch 8 innings because they had nobody else, and he would keep teams to no runs the whole game, and then now look at him. He's on his second Tommy John in like 3 years.
This first one was like 10 years ago.
Was it? I thought.
Yeah, his first one was
what did he go out with?
Long time ago. He's just had a bunch of like different like.
Do you have a shoulder? Whatever.
Probably.
Yeah.
It is his second Tommy John though.
Bad injuries.
Yeah.
Point being that have messed up his arm. So it's like I don't know. It's sad. And then meanwhile, you have a team like the Red Sox with and the Mets with ancient pitchers who are doing it somehow. So I guess it can be done. But before we do that, Tony, I did have one last Red Sox Yankees question for you.
Fire away.
Do you hate us right now, or is it just like we're not the problem?
Yeah, no. I mean, there's not really a whole lot of like. It's like, who's your daddy? We're the Yankees' daddy.
Right.
At least Devers is to Cole. My God.
Devers owns Garrett Cole.
Yeah. And Cole's handling it well.
Yes.
Because, I mean, no one's doubting Cole's prowess ever. It's just like, two great
just
people.
Cannot get him out. Yeah.
Although he has done a little bit better against him like recently, but in the start
gave up a homer like
the
3
other
days
night he
ago.
did. Start of 2022, he got like destroyed like 5 games in a row by him.
Yeah, but
It
for
was
sure,
pretty wild.
like, Red Sox, Yankees, when they're both good, between the lines when they play each other, you're always like, motherfucking those teams and stuff like that.
Right.
Like, but as I've gotten older too, maybe as well, it's changed my perspective on things in the rivalry.
How old were you in 04?
I was 12, so I was in 6th grade.
Right. So you remember it well.
I remember it super well. And
Okay.
I think, I'm going to be honest, like 86 years, no, I did not go through it like my dad or grandparents did.
Sure.
But, you feel the weight of that. And I'm sure Cubs fans, youngerish Cub fans in 2016 could probably attest to the same.
Right.
So you really felt it. And so that was kind of huge for me.
That's
huge
very cool.
baseball memory.
Absolutely.
I'm jealous that you got to have that kind of. That's a very big deal. It's like that's a unifying thing for a fan base, especially. That's really cool.
What would be the Yankee equivalent, like winning 5 or 6 in a row?
Pretty much, I think at this point.
Like that's what it would have to be for Yankee fans to feel something.
No, I would be so happy with one. If Judge gets a ring, I'm going to be losing my mind. I mean, this era has to turn into something. Otherwise, it is just the biggest disappointment, like in sports history. Honestly, Judge is like. He is having that kind of career at this point as a Yankee, where it's like
he's definitely
in the
that
conversation of like being one of the all-time most talented Yankees. Maybe not best career because he hasn't done it for long enough or whatever, and he came up late. But like it's he has that talent to be that type of player. And if he's a captain, it's like we don't want him to be the next Don Mattingly. We want him to get a ring. We want it's like it's been frustrating. But yeah.
I think I'm having a tough time distinguishing what this era is and sort of like what if there are like sort of subsections of like the Judge era and like what that really means, because I think for a while like a lot of Yankees fans thought that it would be like 2019 would be the start of a different era.
Yeah, we definitely did.
And that was pretty naive.
Yes.
2019 and the years moving forward were kind of the start of a new era, but also largely the extension of the years before.
Right.
And I still kind of feel that way. Like, I think that this team is quite a bit different than the team from like 2021.
It is, but it's not. But it's the same. That's the same era. It's the same era.
The same problems plague this team.
Right.
Like,
which is why
they can't stay on the field.
The vibe is similar.
A lot of hitters are like producing not quite as well as they should. So it's just been tough. Like
patchwork roster. Like,
exactly. Like in 2019, like I always think like Talkman is like the best example I can give for a guy who just showed up out of nowhere and was like serviceable enough on a team that went to the ALCS and was like World Series favorites for a while.
We turned him into Wandy Peralta.
Yeah, exactly.
That goes to just show you, Wandy has been great. Like that's what we got for Mike Talkman. Like,
and that's what becomes so endlessly frustrating is that like they're able to pull off these like schemes and like little moves like that are like so genius.
Right.
But then the guys that they commit money to don't produce.
Stanton, Rizzo, DJ,
and then they like
Hicks.
For a while they
Glaber.
were like stacking right-handed power hitters.
Right. Luke Voigt.
Yeah, Luke Voigt especially. Yeah. And it's just like it always felt like they were so good at the little things, but so incompetent at the big things. And I still kind of feel that way.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about Montas yet. I mean, that's just a guy who got hurt, but
No, but he was hurt. But when we got him, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's true. They've made quite a few terrible
Josh
trades over the past
Donaldson.
few years. The trade with the Twins.
That's going to go down in
I
history.
think I said the trade with
the Twade.
the trade with the
Twade with the
Rangers. I mean they made a lot of bad moves.
Gallo.
And the A's. Yeah.
It's been a really productive therapy session. I'm enjoying it.
I feel like we have not had this conversation. We have not debriefed as much as we should have
and I
recently.
actually,
You needed the enemy to come to
honestly.
bring it out of you.
It's
yes,
true.
yes.
It's
Let
true.
the hate roll through you. Yeah.
Well, we're trying
man.
to tell you why we don't hate you right now. That's what's going on.
Yeah, I guess the long story short is
we
both
hate us
teams-
more.
Yeah, both teams just have enough going on at home to worry about each other. It's I was mad the other night when they lost to the Red Sox, but I was mad because the Yankees
They
lost, not
lost.
because the Red Sox won. I don't really give a shit about that right now.
Right.
That was a game in series. They probably should have swept that series. I feel comfortable saying.
Absolutely, they should have.
And they lost 2 out of 3. We were really excited to have you on the podcast today because you are a guy that fits our exact niche of this podcast as a guy who is a total baseball nerd and also a cinephile.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's exactly what we do here.
Fan of the pod.
Yeah, friend
know?
of the pod, absolutely. I'm still very new, I think, to the New York rep cinema scene, and I always see you on Instagram. You're everywhere. You're at a movie every day, and I respect that so much. And I just wanted to know a little bit more about how that came to be and how you came to fall in love with cinema and with the game of baseball. If there's maybe a specific moment that was for you, or whether it was a gradual process.
Moments for each, or if they were connected at all.
how where do you come from?
Yeah.
Where are you going?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on the North Shore of Massachusetts, and as far as movies go, I don't know. I grew up in doing theater. My sister always wanted to be an
Same
actress,
here.
so I was kind of around theater and movies. And I didn't really have a lot of access to cinema from around the world. And repertory cinema growing up. I think regionally, I think a lot of a lot of independent movie theaters do a great job with rep programming, but especially nowadays. But back then, not so much. So I just grew up going to all the sequel movies in the summer blockbusters of the 2000s. Like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
Sure,
Great
and
movies.
it was
Me too. I
just
went to
kind
that
of
one.
Love those movies.
yeah, and then in the summer, you just there would be a new blockbuster every summer, so I would just go with my friend. We made a list, and so you kind of see all those movies, and then I found out my local library rented movies for free. So then I started to expand more, started following awards to film festivals. And then I went to college and there was an art house cinema. So then all of a sudden, the world just opened more to me.
Right.
And that's kind of always been my thing. Half the time I don't even know what movie I'm going to see.
Sure.
Or what it's about. But the more I've been able to watch has definitely affected where I've lived, and they've always kind of been at the movies. So so then the art house cinema in my college, and then what I watched in college, and then obviously moving to New York City just kind of blew everything out of the water, and
Sure.
just started going to all the repertory cinemas and stuff like that around the city, and getting to know the movie going scene, because I prefer theater to home. It's just so easy to pause.
Oh, yeah.
And
Takes you out of it a little bit.
takes you out of it, especially if you're watching something that's a little hard to take. You have an out.
Right,
But in a
right,
movie
right.
theater, I mean, you can walk out, and I've done that rarely, but I've done it a few times. But you're in there. I saw the restoration a few years ago of Come and See, 4K, at Film Forum, and it's just packed, and
That's cool.
you're in there.
Yeah.
It's dark.
Did you have a hat and smoke a
experience
cigar?
it. No, I did not. No, but so that's just kind of why I've always supported being with people. And it's actually, someone was asking me, I always dump on television. And people are
Sure,
like, why don't
same.
you like that? And I was like, because I think what I'm saying isn't true. It's just my opinion, and everybody loves television, and I am full in the minority supporting cinema. But I'm a big person who loves communal activities with an audience member. So live theater, going to the movies, right? Because you do go to the movies even though you can watch at home. And TV, and I watch sports and I watch baseball. And even though it's more solitary with baseball, you see the crowd like at the game. So the crowd is like being projected towards you at all times.
Right.
And but a TV is more solitary because you watch it on your own. You could watch it with friends, and then you kind of catch up on about it afterwards.
Right.
But it's still like this more solitary thing. And I mean, I can't just be with characters for that long. It's just way too much to ask,
Sure,
you know?
gotcha.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, that's just kind of like my movie journey. And, you know, I'm always open to seeing anything and everything.
I
and
love
just
that.
expanding my horizons.
I'm curious. Have you seen You Hurt My Feelings, the new Nicole Holofcener movie?
I sure did.
What do you think of it?
You know, I liked it. You know, it was. You know, it's fine.
That's exactly right.
But I liked it. I like her. I
what it
really
is.
like her movies. I was reading a lot about. She's featured in this book called Hope for Film by Ted Hope, who was a big producer in the '90s, and he was the first studio head of Amazon Studios, and kind of like gave that studio prestige in like the mid 2015 16s. He's a really cool guy, and so he's a big champion of her work, and I've always liked her work because of that. And I actually saw it because a friend of mine who I go to the movies with a bunch, we just coincidentally, our schedules lined up, and we were both seeing Day of Wrath by Dreyer at Anthology Film Archives, and that was on a Saturday night. And then Sunday night we were seeing Dogville, Lars von Trier, and those are very intense movies. So both of us were like, we need to see like a palate cleanser or just like, you know,
it's a good choice
just like
for
a
it,
different
but
change of pace before we see. And she's perfect for that. So like we went to different cinemas, but we both like you know, got up at 11 a.m. and like went to our local cinema with 11 a.m. screening, and then we saw Dogville much later, and felt ready to go.
Very nice. I was curious because I worked on that movie. That was the first movie that I ever worked on.
Oh, amazing!
I was a set dresser for that, and I was.
What was that like?
It was really cool.
She sounds awesome to work with too.
I didn't get to like work with her directly at all, but just her set, like just everything was so like everyone was really nice. I don't know if that was from just the crew or whatever, but just it was such a good vibe like on that movie, like in the I worked a lot in the apartment, like in their apartment.
Oh, great.
And then I worked a bit in the like her classroom a bit, like that set, and it was just everything was fun. I told the story last week about there being like one night where I was just kind of frustrated about like our timing of like how I was waiting around for a few hours, and then I ended up working from 7 at night until 2:30 in the morning or something. And I got called in that day like noon. So it was like, but that was the only, and that had nothing to do with her. But it was just all very, it was first of all a really cool experience, and that being the first movie that I worked on, being able to go see it and be like, hey, like I was saying last week, like being able to say like I was in this space and I put those lamps there, I built those curtains or whatever. It was just like a really cool experience. So that was I was just curious if you liked it because that was
hell yeah. Not only fun. That, I've been recommending it to friends.
No
you
way.
know,
I'm glad.
You know, it's interesting too. The movies, like I'm posting like almost every single movie that I'm seeing and where.
Sure.
And it's funny the ones that people respond to.
Right. Right.
And
everybody likes a nice easy comedy.
Yeah, for sure. But like it's like everybody's more active. Like don't get a lot of responses when I'm going to see Dreyer sometimes, but like people freak out when I go see Blade Runner or something like that.
Right, of course.
So it's cool. But then her movie stirred up a lot of interest from a lot of my friends, and so I was like, go see it, go. So I'm always trying to get people to go to the movies,
Nice.
So just like go.
That's awesome.
It's a really good one to go see for sure.
Yeah.
Especially since we don't really make those kinds of movies anymore either.
That's what we were saying last week. God. Exactly. It felt so fresh.
So you really got to go out and do the work and support it. So that people can make more.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And that's what we were saying. There was a studio comedy trailer for it when we saw it separately, but there was like
Jennifer Lawrence movie,
Jennifer Lawrence
No
movie.
Hard Feelings.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it's like, I feel like I haven't seen this kind of movie in like 5 years, and I know it's the pandemic, but like with the
even
these
more than that is
IPs,
the Marvel
it's
stuff,
like
and just the the rehashing of everything and like Barbie or whatever, just like all these, like it's very old hat. Like now it
seems
feels
to
like
me
it's starting
like
to get more creative.
Like that Greta Gerwig Barbie movie is gonna be like, I'm excited for that movie. Like I think that it's gonna be well done, but I also think that it's going to like usher in, and it already has, like they're already doing it, but they're already
movies.
like there's gonna be a movie about every toy made in the next like decade.
Dude, Transformers.
They're already going.
The
Well,
Mario
yeah,
movie.
but it's gonna be more
Like,
intense.
like the Lego movie.
They just put out the movie about
This is-
flaming
this is-
hot Cheetos, and it's
no, I
like
know.
anti-communist propaganda.
That's
Right, because we have
ridiculous.
BlackBerry, we have Flaming Hot Cheetos, we have Air, and then
Right.
we have the Tetris movie.
Oh, the
All coming
Tetris
out.
show. Is that a movie now too?
There's a
Tetris
movie
is a movie,
on
yeah.
the
That's
making
a show
of
on
Tetris.
Apple TV. They're
That's
making it a
nuts.
movie too.
It's an Apple TV movie. Is it a show or
I
a
thought it
movie?
was a
It
show.
might
Is
be
it
an
a
Apple
movie?
TV movie.
Oh, I
It's
thought it was
Apple
a series.
TV.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, fair enough. I never clicked on it.
You don't even know now. Is it a movie? Is it a
assumed it was a
miniseries? Is it a
series.
show? I don't know. Like
maybe.
that's streaming
I
now.
genuinely don't
you
know. But either way, so that's like, but that's what I'm saying though. Like Barbie is not ushering anything in. It's a continuation of the same fucking issue. It's nothing new. It's part of the same issue, same problem. Although the Lego movie was good.
Yeah.
But
Shit, what was I just gonna say? BlackBerry,
BlackBerry was so
I
good.
would defend. Like I think that is a little bit different. I think
It's like the Social Network.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was just
Yeah.
talking about a thematic.
Oh no,
Yes.
of course,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
course.
thread between
Yeah.
these four kind of like corporate
Yes.
making
Oh, that's
of
fair.
story behind.
Right. I can't wait for the Monopoly movie.
You're
That's gonna be
absolutely
fun.
correct. I
Milton
think
Bradley's already on it.
I think it's an important distinction to make. Or, apparently, it has to be an important distinction to make if they're going to make so many of these fucking movies. That it's especially lame to make a movie about how a product is really cool and
Yeah.
how you should go buy it. Like BlackBerry, it was like, here's what these idiots did
Right.
wrong, and here was this like.
It's a real
wacko
story. It's like
with
yeah.
these like nerdy like
That movie was great.
Yeah, no, it was a
It was
great
really
time.
good.
We actually talked about BlackBerry and You Hurt My Feelings on
Yeah.
2 past episodes. So if you didn't hear those, everybody
Go check them out.
Go
Yeah.
check those out.
Check them out. Listen to the pod.
That
Yes.
and Fool's Paradise, which also same episode as BlackBerry, which that was a Sunny type episode, which we could talk about. In
Those
a bit,
were the
but,
past few episodes. Yeah, those are the past few.
But yes, those are the most recent episodes. But yeah, it's like I will say when I went to go see You Hurt My Feelings, I did take note because I'd seen a few movies like in the last I went to like 3 movies in a week and a half or something like that, which is more than I usually do. And the first 2 times it was BlackBerry and I think it was Fool's Paradise. And the Yogi movie,
for
the Yogi movie. The theater had been empty for like the Yogi movie. For Fool's Paradise, like the theater, not like our theater. I'm saying like the whole building, like was empty. And this is the Regal at Essex, like it's massive theater.
Oh, wow.
Then we went to go see You Hurt My Feelings on like a Thursday or something. I don't remember, but it was packed. It was like the building was packed, and it was
Spider-Man.
like it was definitely part of Spider-Man's crowd. But our theater for You Hurt My Feelings was also packed. So like it was, it could have just been that there were just a lot of people going out that night. It wasn't a nice day, so maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. I had a very good feeling though being in there and seeing like the concessions were full, and like there's something about a movie theater that's just very, like quaint. Like when it's packed, it's nice.
Yeah.
Like
it's an immersive experience,
Yes.
whether that is
Yeah.
a grand experience or just something very intimate and small.
Right.
I would love to think that all of those people turned out for Nicole Hall of Center.
It was almost sold out. Like our room was definitely like they did good.
Oh, it's
It was
good to
fun.
see such a big crowd.
packed with the Hall of Heads.
Yeah, there was a girl next to us. Like Bryce and I were sitting, and there was like one seat filled next to us, and we were picking our seats. And we were like, "That's interesting," because it was like the whole row had been empty when we were picking our seats, and they filled in eventually. But this woman had just come in by herself, like to just go. Like we noticed, like afterwards, she got up and left by herself, and like she'd been sitting by herself in the movie. I was like, "That's awesome, good for you, lady."
I
Like,
love people who do that. Like you'll
Yeah.
find that a lot. Like if you go to theaters, you'll just find those like stragglers,
Yeah.
like the old
the Yogi
people
movie.
usually who
The Yogi
will just go
movie?
to anything.
old
like,
men by themselves.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
awesome.
They
There were
wanted to
like
see
6
anything.
different ones. I like to think they all went and got a drink and met each other afterwards.
I hope they all saw Yogi play too.
Man, I bet some of them did.
I
Yeah.
saw it at Cinema 123 up on the Upper East Side.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of old folks there.
Yeah.
But like I couldn't tell. well. I mean, he played such a long time ago. I was like,
50s, 60s,
did these people see him play? Were they kids when he played, or
That was our friend.
Was it their dad? But it was a good time.
Yogi, you're a liar.
You remember there was that
I never
video?
said that.
There's that video of him hitting a homer in Ebbets Field that it landed on. I think it must have been Flatbush Avenue or something. But Ebbets Field was around the corner from here, like literally, like here, like it's like very close by. So like when we were watching that, I was like, that building's a CVS now. I just went there the other day. I was like, of course it's a CVS. So
I'm sure there's a plaque
but
too.
There is. It's there. There's an apartment building there now called the Ebbets Field like Homes or something. But it's like it's literally like right down the road.
Oh, awesome.
Which it's cool being that close to history. And like every time I see that building, I'm like, man, imagine if the Dodgers never left or what. Like, first of all, this place would be insanely expensive to live in.
Yeah.
But it would just be really cool to have, like, it is cool to have that history here, but it would have been cooler if they kept it a museum or whatever. But it is cool to be that close by, is all I'm saying.
I love it.
But yeah.
Tony, what was it like seeing Day of Wrath in theater and Dogville as well? Both of those. I'm curious about your response to those.
Oh yeah, I mean they're great. I love Dreyer. I think he's an incredibly adventurous filmmaker, even in his things like Day of Wrath and or Debt. The Word is another one that I've seen. Oh god, his very subtle way he like pans the camera is so cool. The intro's great. I mean, the whole time, though, spoilers, but like Dave Raz, like, girl, you need to get out of there. Like, leave. Seriously, like, these dudes are cowards. But then again, it's the Middle Ages. But so that was cool. Von Trier, I have an interesting relationship with his movies. I wouldn't say I'm the biggest. Like, I love Lars von Trier. Like, the trailer for The House that Jack built. I'm like, I don't need to see this.
If you were like,
yeah, but like, I mean, people liked, House of Jack built, but I was like, I think I'm going to skip that one.
I actually liked that movie more than I was expecting to, but like at the same time, like I'm also kind of suspicious of anyone who's like super into Lars von Trier. Like, he's definitely not a guy I'd ever want to like hang out with. Like I'm not a fan of Antichrist at all. But
how many auteurs would you be like, they'd be fun? Like, I feel like most of them are kind of neurotic little creeps. Like,
a lot of them are interesting.
Yeah. In a good way.
But Dogville's great.
Fair enough.
I love Dogville. I had no idea about the movie, so I went in completely cold. No one told me anything. And I don't know if I want to spoil, but like I was like, as a theater person, like people know that I love theater and film. Like I can't believe no one was like, you should watch Dogville. Like at some point. No, it's great. I mean, it just examines the worst of humanity and is a really pessimistic view of humanity, and I think it's talking about all of humanity, but obviously using America. Which can definitely be used as a vehicle to show the worst of humanity for sure. So it's a smart choice, and I love when an outsider makes a film about America, because I appreciate the lens too. That's a lot of American filmmakers are kind of incapable of.
Just an objective point of view that like we cannot, or well,
for sure we can, or like,
but like
who knows if the movie gets made in America, and so
I say it doesn't.
It's hard to get
that one specifically
America critical film like out and about.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, do we know the ending? Have we all seen Dogville?
I have. Brody does.
Okay, so we won't talk about the ending, but.
I would say Dogville is my favorite Von Trier movie. I'm also reading Nixon Land right now by Rick Perlstein, and I'm just getting to the point where it's like the 1968 like Chicago convention and like how the cops like brutally beat all of those protesters and like hippies and whatever. And
which time?
Exactly. Specifically, what got me was that the news anchors, they were like, their initial reporting on that incident was, look at what these brutal cops are doing to our children.
Right.
And what they discovered was that overwhelming sentiment from Americans watching TV supported the cops and who thought these are not our kids, these are like bearded hippies, beat the shit out of them. The cops reacted how I would have. So
that's America for you.
Reading that book right now has me in the state of mind where Dogville is like my favorite movie in the world, and I'm starting to think maybe it's like a masterpiece.
I think it's like ahead of its time too, but it came out in 2003, so this is like the start of Iraq and Afghanistan too.
Right.
So
God. This isn't particularly a spoiler for that movie. I think what I didn't know about it going into it was that it was like shot entirely on like stage.
Right, in a stage
directions, like on like a tape.
That was a big spoiler that I was upset that no one told me about. Yeah,
I don't really consider that a spoiler just because it's like the whole movie, but it's like
for sure a simple Google, which I did not do.
No, exactly.
It says shot in a studio.
I'm in the same boat,
quote unquote Brechtian setting. It's really cool.
It's so cool. I love that movie so much. It's starting to become one of my favorite endings in particular.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And, but that's another one, like, it's about 3 hours long. So I could never watch that movie at home. And when I go to the movies, that's oftentimes like my first thought. It's like, oh, yeah, like I would totally pause this and, this is too much. But it's so much more powerful when you're in the space and watching it and you have nowhere to go.
Right.
I watched that movie on a laptop during COVID, so like I would love to see it in a theater. Like that would be such
playing
a
at the
still had
Roxy.
nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah.
Do you want me to give you like a rundown of like theaters in New York City?
Absolutely. That's what I
idea.
was totally going to ask was like what some of your favorites are and like what you would recommend especially to like newcomers like who aren't really familiar with the scene at all.
Listeners in the city too, pay attention.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, just knowing these names first and then just going on their websites and seeing what's screening is super helpful. So like my favorite cinema is Film Forum on Houston Street in the Village. It's incredible. They're doing an Ozu retrospective right now, followed by a 4K restoration of Godard's Contempt. And then in July they're doing a retrospective on Billy Wilder. So
cool.
There's a lot of great programming happening and a lot of great movies screening
died,
right now.
Godard did just last year.
Oh, Godard for Contempt.
Okay,
Yeah.
Never mind. Yeah.
Yes. And he died last fall.
Oh my god, I was thinking of Gene Wilder.
But yeah,
Never
no.
mind.
But yeah, so that's there. I mean, I buy a lot of memberships, so I'm never paying full price. And buying the membership to me is super helpful. One, it supports these organizations, and you get discounts on your tickets. So it's like you go, it becomes worth your while, and you end up saving in the end. So Film Forum is one of them. Anthology Film Archives is pretty great. It's like a $75 membership. You get $7 tickets, and then well over 100 free screenings a year in their Essential Cinema series. So the Dreyer screening was a print of Day of Wrath, and that was free.
Oh my god!
So and their Essential Cinema's 1,000 movies by Jonas Mekas that he declared was Essential Cinema, and they have prints, and they're free on repertory all the time. So just check every month. They have Essential Cinema going on.
Can you give like an estimation of like the percentage of the theater that's like full when you go to these kinds of screenings? Like, is it packed or like does it like
it depends. I mean, I always joke with my friend. It's like, I mean, I'll say the same thing with Ozu. I think Ozu's very popular, even for the casual film cinephile. Ozu, Kurosawa, Wong Kar-wai, David Lynch, Stanley Kubrick. I mean, those folks right there are asses in the seats.
Right.
And you also you got to buy your ticket in advance. That's what I recommend.
Yeah.
Like last President's Day in February, I was like, okay, there's a noon screening of Seven Samurai because they did a Mifune retrospective, which is essentially a Kurosawa retrospective as well.
Sure.
And so I was like, oh yeah, like I'm going to roll up out of bed, like go to this movie in the morning. And like, I checked the website and it was like completely sold out. And I was like, that ruined my day. So, depending on the person, it's it depends, but a lot of people just come out and like retrospectives. So like Film at Lincoln Center is always huge. You doing 1 or 2 June retrospectives of a filmmaker.
Cool.
And they're pretty, they get really big turnouts. I mean, they did Wong Kar-wai in the pandemic. It was supposed to be in 2020, and then they eventually got some theatrical screenings, and then IFC Center just took that. I think that people are like, oh, IFC's doing like a David Lynch retrospective. I'm like, he's playing all the time, for sure. And Jodorowsky as well. So that's cool. But yeah, so there's Lincoln Center they're doing a Marco Ferreri retrospective. I had no idea who he was.
I don't even know the name.
I've never heard of him
he's
either.
an Italian filmmaker. His heyday in the
Italian.
60s, 70s, and 80s.
Yeah.
Prolific output and definitely a member of the cinema of the absurd.
Ooh, nice.
So very
Big
much
fan
an
of his
absurdist.
sports cars too.
Yeah, Ferrari.
Right,
but it is a little bit confusing. So they're doing that.
Dude, he should fight John Ford, and then it'd be Ford versus Ferrari.
Ford versus Ferrari. Yeah. Oh man, I would love that.
That was a lame joke, and I didn't like that movie very much. Ford versus Ferrari.
I haven't
didn't
seen
see
it.
I'm so glad. Okay, you didn't see it. That's a statement. But I don't regret not seeing it.
it's
Did we
not-
just?
Do you know what a great Formula One movie is? Real sidetrack. The first 30 minutes of this movie called Grand Prix.
Interesting.
It's this opening sequence. It's with Saul Bass. It's Frankenheimer is the director, and Saul Bass, the guy who does opening credits from like movies in the 60s and 70s.
Oh, sure.
It's like super hyper stylized, animated. They both did this like 30-minute opening sequence of Formula One Monaco Grand Prix, and it is some of the most electric cinema I've ever seen. The movie's kind of boring after that, but
Right, the first 30 though.
that's like a real side tangent. But yeah, so Lincoln Center's great. IFC Center, definitely late night programming. So if you're into that, like I'm a little old for that. So, but if that's for you, go for it. Let's see. So Lincoln Center, IFC Center, Film Forum, Anthology Film Archives. The Roxy has some of the best programming in the city. Incredible membership too that I don't think a lot of people sign up for. I don't know.
Where is the theater again?
It's
Sorry.
at the Roxy Hotel in Tribeca.
Oh, sure.
It's in the basement. And so they own the hotel, and then they just have a cinema there.
Right. Okay.
And their membership is $250 for the whole year.
Yeah.
And you get one free admission to every single screening and a free
cool.
popcorn. So if you see like 12 movies,
Man.
then it starts paying for itself,
Right,
you know?
right.
So, I mean...
Yeah, it's only one a month. That's not bad.
Right,
Yeah.
and I saw Dogville at the Roxy. I saw Dogville, Meet Me in St. Louis. I saw Blade Runner. I mean, just
That's a very
three,
different
That's a
trifecta.
completely different movies. So they have really wide variety of programming
Eclectic,
and repertory,
yeah.
and they'll show like they had Beau is Afraid. Showing after it did its theatrical run, so they'll show that. I bet they'll get Nicole's movie. Maybe I wouldn't be surprised if they did after
cool. Yeah.
it like leaves their first run cinemas.
Right.
So yeah, I can't recommend. Abel Ferrara is basically artist in residence there. He just shows up in Paul Schrader to do Q&As all the time. But yeah, no, that's very exciting, wonderful. And then of course MoMA is my other big one. Is incredible. They just announced their new films that they've selected for their archives for preservation.
Gotcha.
They just have a copy, so they have like certified copy, Brokeback Mountain.
They had a
Spring
Tetris
Breakers.
exhibit at the MoMA recently. I wonder if they're going to do a tie-in.
I know. I bet they had a screening. You never
bet they
know.
did. I
I
bet
wouldn't
they
be
did.
surprised. And they have
Yeah.
a contender series too. So all the Oscar movies.
Yeah.
And if you have a membership to MoMA, you get a free ticket anytime you want to the
Right.
screening. So
That's cool.
it's free screenings
I keep on
come
saying that's cool, but that's good stuff.
with the membership. Yeah, no, for
Man.
sure. So, I have a museum employee badge, so I don't need the membership right now, but at some point I'm going to splurge for it because I can get tickets in advance.
Right.
But yeah, Spielberg rolled through for the Fabelmans, like every single Oscar-winning director from November to late January, early to mid-February, like they're all coming to MoMA once a week or twice a week, and they're screening the movie and they're giving a Q&A.
Right. Man.
Wow, that's amazing. That's so much.
Yeah, and I gotta recommend MoMA too. I mean, that's a museum that everybody knows and goes to, and they've been screening movies since the 1930s there for museum goers and members, and it's just the programming there is incredible. They just did a Errol Fleming retrospective on Wednesdays and saw a Raoul Walsh boxing film that I really loved called Gentleman Jim, about the transition from bare knuckle to whatever boxing glove. It's just called glove boxing. Cool. It's a really incredible film. So yeah,
that's really cool.
So that's that. And then for blockbuster studio stuff, AMC at Lincoln Center is kind of the place to be for that. If you want, Times Square, those big ones. But AMC, I like the Essex at
Regal.
The new one, Essex, I like it too.
Yeah. It's fun. Great. It's a pretty building, really nice theater. But not to distract too much, but there's a huge release this week of fabled auteur Wes Anderson's Asteroid City is coming out on Thursday night. Are you guys excited?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, it's playing at Angelica and it's playing at the Alamo in Lower Manhattan.
I haven't been there. I need to
for
go
the first weekend. Yeah, and then I think the following weekend it expands to more theaters in New York.
Gotcha.
And then across the country.
Yeah,
Wes Anderson's a big expand person,
right,
and growing up in Massachusetts, I'm so spoiled in New York City. I'm addicted to this culture. Just
it's everywhere.
Wes Anderson opens accessible. For us on Friday, but in Boston, I'd be like, I've got to wait
not gonna be
4 more
June
weeks.
or July.
And then it opens in Boston at this landmark cinema,
right, at least for some people in this class of at least modern directors who are a draw, household names. I feel like there hasn't been a release in a bit, so I feel like this is kind of the Tarantino's movie is coming out again soon, and this is kind of
the
it's
big
been
time
a bit.
Director movies don't typically come out the first half of the year, so we're gonna start seeing those.
Yeah. I think this is this looks promising, but
I think we might do a double episode this week.
We should do it.
We might do a Wes Anderson episode.
This cast
or just
crazy.
Asteroid City. His casts are always very
really
star-studded.
Tom Hanks, Scarlett Johansson, Cranston. Brian Cashman in his film debut. But Ed Norton, Adrian Brody, all the usual suspects of a Wes Anderson.
I was going to ask Tony. I've been kicking myself because I missed the Bela Tarr at film at Lincoln Center. Any chance you were there for that?
No, and I've never seen a Bela Tarr movie.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I haven't seen everything, as people say, I haven't seen Blade Runner until a few days ago.
I have never seen Blade Runner, but the other day when the air was shit, I was really kind of wanting to watch 2049, but I haven't seen the original.
Right.
I don't know if...
Hot take, you're not missing much.
Really?
I don't really like it.
Oh, I've heard it's great.
What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I would kind of agree with Nolan.
Really?
There are a lot of fans.
Yeah,
it's a very massive
screaming right now here.
Following right now.
But people love 2049. That's
I like that one a bit more, just because it's more
it's modern.
It's just more visually appealing,
right? And less dated at the very least. But
I don't know, just a lot of the original Blade Runner doesn't really do a lot for me. And I don't know, it's not like I'm a huge fan of the new one either, but it's better. I like that one.
I do like Ryan Gosling, which gives me hope, by the way, for the Barbie movie. So I love Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling.
Intellectual discourse here on the Mudville podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Barbie movie. You heard it here first.
So tonight, the Oakland Athletics are doing a reverse boycott where they're going to pack the stadium for the only time this season. It's
just to protest.
Selling 2,000 to 3,000. Yeah, I agree. So you can only have a couple thousand fans in the game. Usually this time they're going to show up to prove we're still here. We're just not showing up because you're not putting a product on the field, and you cannot relocate our team because we're not showing up. We're not showing up because you ruined our team.
Yes.
It's a very convoluted point, but it's an important one. And it needs to be made.
Yes.
And John Fisher is a scumbag. And
just today, by the way, Vegas, they put a deal through that was supposed to, I think, aid in the building of a new stadium or something along those lines. I saw the headline. I didn't read anything into it. I just know that there was a kind of momentum towards them moving now to just today that just passed in their state Congress or something like that. But yeah.
They're definitely going to put a team in Las Vegas.
There will be a team.
Skeptical that it will be the A's.
I think this was specifically in the A's favor, which is why I bring that up. But yes, yeah.
I think we as baseball fans and Americans need to also ask ourselves the question, who's the game of baseball for? Is it for the people, or is it for these 30 owners and the commissioner?
100%.
Because, I think we're kind of all to blame for this athletic situation, because we do have power, but I think the American sports fan and in general Americans to their relationship with corporations is kind of like Kevin Bacon in Animal House getting hazed. It's like, thank you, sir, can I have another? Thank you, sir, can I have another? Like, oh yeah, we're just gonna move the Athletics from Philly to Kansas City, and then from Kansas City to Oakland, and now Oakland to Vegas. Like, I think there needs to be more solidarity. I think we need to take a page out of European soccer when they try to form the Super League. I mean, can you imagine like Manchester United moving to London? What?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I don't know anything about soccer,
No,
but
that
I'm
would
going
be
to imagine that would be wild.
Yeah, Manchester's in Manchester, and then they would just, they'd be like, "Oh, we're in London now."
we're a London
it doesn't
club.
make any sense.
Yeah.
And like the fact that this team's moved already a bunch, it's it's just crazy. And so we need to do a lot more to.
The Premier League politically is a very different kind of organization, but your point stands. So it's,
there's a lot to be learned.
So it's actually just looking at it now. It's not full, but it is definitely.
But it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty lively in Oakland.
Definitely. Also, there are a shit ton of fans wearing these shirts that say "Sell," which is kind of nice. But this is a game between the Rays and the A's, which are two teams who are not used to having a crowd. So we'll see how that goes. It's. Yeah.
This is just one in an endless line of things that just baffle me about the psychology of sports owners and billionaires in general, which is just, how is any of this worth it? Like, you're making an entire city, arguably an entire country, think that you're just a villainous, malicious scumbag.
Greedy. Yeah.
And what is your end game? You move the team
to make a lot of money in Vegas.
You make
that's what he wants.
No, I know, but of course, but you make an amount of money that isn't going to marginally affect your life at all, because
it's similar to what he could make in Oakland.
Yeah, it's just he's a symptom of a plague.
Yeah,
we should also try to pass legislation in cities with historic teams like the Red Sox or Yankees, because like. It's also,
it's such a cornerstone of culture.
Could the Yankees ever leave New York? It's not guaranteed. Like, you think about it, oh no, the Yankees are permanent, the Red Sox are permanent. You don't know that.
They
don't have to be.
If Yankee fans, there's been a very small contingent, but a contingent nonetheless, who have been like, Hal needs to sell the team. Imagine if some giant hedge fund came in and was like, I could make, or spend a shit ton less money if I move this team to Nashville.
Right.
Like, it's like...
just spend less.
Right.
Because who's to dictate what kind of market you are? I mean, we're seeing that now with the Padres. Like, I was told my whole life they were a small market team.
Right. All of a sudden... Preller's playing around with fucking $400 million contracts. Like,
and
where
all
are
of
you
a
getting
sudden,
this?
all of this like whiny, we don't have the money, just reveals itself to be bullshit.
It is bullshit. Everyone knows it's bullshit because it keeps on proving it over and over again. And it's like, that being said, we could have a whole different conversation of the effectiveness of spending money, because every team that did this offseason is bad right now. But that being said,
we could have an endless conversation about how like money is fake, and you could just take it from the rich, and it's
what is real is the affection that people feel for their baseball clubs.
Just do whatever.
The Oakland, like we've said it before in a few episodes where we've talked about this, but they are the ones who get hurt the most by all of this bullshit, and like all this, again, money being fake, being thrown around, and just like moving a team that does mean a lot of people, and they've already gone through with the Raiders and the Warriors, and it's such a shame that it's the same fan base. Not a shame because it's the same fan base, but it's more of a shame because, again, it is the same fan base who's had this in a city that is not, rich or well off or whatever. It just keeps on happening to them in the same place, and it's sad. So maybe this does something tonight. Let's see.
I've honestly been so impressed with how like the Oakland community for sure, but also just baseball fans as a whole are really like standing up for Oakland in this.
Everyone's with them. People are rooting for. They're America's team this year.
We should not let them play at our stadiums. Like, just forfeit the games. We should, if they move, or even now, like,
We're not
Red
going
Sox
to
fans,
Vegas.
it's up to, like, teams who have more of a sense of permanence to be like, this is not okay. And, like, what? We're going to catch another L, like, in a 162-game season? Like, I think it's worth it to prove a point.
Right.
Make John Fisher's life a living hell, and we the people as baseball fans have the power to do that.
Right. I think that's a very good point too. And I like baseball being in Vegas when gambling has been such like a dark specter over this sport in every era. I mean, like, you go back to 1919, Pete Rose, like even now being in bed with all these gambling companies, it's been there in history, and just like the idea of them being in Vegas, it's already, I have to imagine it's an issue with the Raiders that they have just, fought tooth and nail to not like let be an issue. But I mean, it would be so hard. There's so many games, and there's, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just a whole other side of it.
But I think it'd take a few at different stadiums to like prove a point. And what, like all these teams catch an L,
right?
Like a forfeit, like whoops, like that's fine. But like point heard,
Yeah. If you do that, it also just completely diminishes the social currency of the win too.
Right.
So it's like. Yeah, if
the social currency,
it would
then
suck for the club, but like it would suck for the owner too.
Yeah,
so
and the casual fans start asking. Congress starts asking. I know we live in crazy times right now, but
they've
you'd
gotten
be surprised something that's happened. Yeah, no, they've gotten involved before. So, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, with this
Um,
much money being thrown around and this kind of like
yeah, we can force a sell. They can force a sell.
Oligarchy thing that's happening in baseball.
Well, I just saw today a couple California legislators, including
where is Gavin Newsom?
Including Barbara Lee, introduced a bill to.
Wait, is he the mayor of LA or the governor of California?
He's the governor of California.
Okay,
Barbara Lee is in the House of Representatives, and she and one of her colleagues introduced a bill that would mess with like MLB's antitrust exemption.
Oh, sure.
If I'm trying to get this right. If
blocking the minor league unionization.
They were saying like
Bernie was saying that.
They were saying like if a team, but the Barbara Lee bill was that if a team relocates, like the A's are trying to do right now, they have to like pay the community money.
Oh, they should.
In some sense, like there's some
the
like
Moneyball Act.
Yeah, the Moneyball Act.
Like you got to pay $1 billion to the city of Oakland.
Yeah,
$2 billion.
Like and she says, and if they don't like that, then we come for MLB's antitrust action.
Right.
Which I learned from people on the internet who are older and smarter than me is how Kansas City got the Royals.
Right.
Oh,
when the Kansas City Athletics left.
The measure would require the owners of the A's or any other professional baseball team that relocates more than 25 miles away to compensate its former community, or Major League Baseball would lose its antitrust exemption.
I love that.
Awesome.
This is kind of like what I was talking about, and it's something like Boston and New York should, even at the local level at city council, should be like, fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
And obviously, these are, like I said, more permanent, and they probably aren't going to fuck around, and they definitely don't want to find out. And it's something to be like, sure, like we're going to be here for like fucking ever. We'll sign, but that starts a precedent and could start a spiral.
We love you. Don't leave.
But so either in the federal government or even in a local city government too, we don't have to bend over backwards for these people all the time.
Right.
You can have a sports team on your own terms. Vegas can have a team that's not the Athletics.
Right. And they are planning it, by the way. Like there have been rumors of the 32 team expansion that's going to happen in baseball. Like it's coming. Like it's going to be, whether it's Nashville, as I said earlier, or Raleigh, North Carolina, or Portland, Oregon.
It should be all of those.
But there's going to be at least 2 more teams that enter the league soon, and
hopefully
it's just like
6.
That's sure, why not? Like add more. Like it's we are
put them all in the playoffs.
That I was going to say that might fuck up the playoffs, but like that's the way that the sport is going. So if you're going to do that, just if Vegas wants a team, which I'm not even sure that they really do, I'm sure they want one.
I think they do.
But like
they do.
It's not like
they don't want to pay to construct John Fisher's stadium.
They don't want John Fisher Stadium. So it's like there is the opportunity coming to get a team. So they could just hold out and just be like, look, we are going to not only not piss off an old fan base, but have a completely new history in a city where, baseball has never been. So this could be a whole new thing for us. And like, that seems more enticing if I'm the Vegas City Council, which I am not, but then I unfortunately no.
If you're listening,
I am not
City Council.
I am not the gaming commissioner.
I think that'll just about wrap it up for this week's episode of Mudville. Tony, thank you so much for being here. You were an amazing guest. Do you have anything to plug?
I got nothing to plug, really. No, I got nothing. I do, I guess, yeah, kind of. Well, I just had a screening Brickflix I co-produced with Phil Hartman, who owns Two Boots Pizza, a screening series at a theater in Williamsburg, The Brick. It's quarterly right now, so our next one's going to be in September, October, but we just screened Anony, the pop singer, her documentary from 2012 called Turning. It was a lot of fun. We had like 60 people.
Hell yeah.
Check out Brickflix online.
You want to spell it? Is it
BRICK, like Netflix? Yeah, but Brick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, go to the movies. Definitely. Take your friends. Go by yourself. Please, if your friends are dicking around schedule-wise, go see the movie yourself.
Sure.
And then go see it again with your friends. Like, don't be afraid to go by yourself. Support the arts, and go to a baseball game too.
Yeah, go to an A's game. Actually, maybe not an A's game. Go somewhere else. Don't give John Fisher money. Go see the A's on the road. Hell yeah! Well,
I love that.
Yeah, Tony, where can our people find you on socials?
Oh yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm mostly at Toney TONEY movies.
Nice.
Toney movies at Toney movies.
Awesome. Very easy name.
Short and to the point.
Yeah.
Well,
that'll do it, Mudballs. I'm making it a thing.
For those who maybe are new to the podcast, we are Mudville. We have a podcast about baseball and cinema. Tony was our perfect guest as a avid lover of both of those things. This was a delight of an episode. Please, if you haven't already, rate us 5 stars, leave a nice review. It helps us a lot with the algorithm or whatever the hell.
All that,
would
all
really
that
appreciate
stuff.
it. I know that's kind of an annoying request, but we'd really love it.
Yeah, please do. We're trying to grow.
This is the Mudville Podcast. We are on Twitter at Mudville Pod. I am at Stuck in the Coil, and Brody is
Board Guy 23.
You could also find me
BORDGUY 23.
You can also find me on Blue Sky at Nolan R. That's been it.
All right, we'll see you guys
so much
next
for listening.
week. Have a good one.